It's destination day. So those of you who know, been following along here, you know today is the day. Finally going to hit the final end of the destination here. It should be a great place to set up base camp. Going to get some boots on the ground experience. That's always fun and feels pretty fitting. So coming in off all the John Collins interviews, a lot of new energy, relighting some people's fires, I think, in the hunt. So definitely going to have some momentum here going into the final end of the trail. If you haven't seen the interviews yet, go back, check those out. He's got a couple interviews out right now where he has some major revelations, especially for the Appalachian Trail box. So there are 3 different solves to getting to the end of the trail here on the map. So huge information there. I think we're definitely on one of the ways. So if you are new to the channel, probably want to jump back like 2 episodes, check out the map flip episode. So that's where I think it's a critical point in showing how we got from point A to point B, the real physicality of the map, and just how all the details and icons really come into play and how the trail itself matches up to the Appalachian Trail. So check that out. For the rest of us, going to kind of pick up where we left off last week. Just going to start at Big Bald, head north from there. Shouldn't be too long. A couple good icon solves will be at the end of our destination here. I'll try to jump back in on the end, just kind of go over some thoughts and theories. So if you're ready, let's jump in. Welcome back to Earth View. As we talked about here, we're back where we started, Bald Head Trailhead and Big Bald. And actually, before we get going here, let me just jump back. Anybody that's new here, let's jump back to the beginning real quick. I'm just going to run through touch on some of these icons and how we got to this point. So back here, starting of course at Springer Mountain, Georgia, start of the Appalachian Trail, also the start of the trail on the map. So of course you have the Springer Spaniel, so that gave us our great starting point. We touched on Amicalola Falls here. Really like that icon solve. That was the rock that we flipped over for the shape of Georgia, and then we had the falls pouring through it. So really like that one. Then, of course, we had this spot here. This is not where the tree is. So if anybody is wondering how close it is to Springer Mountain, it is not there. It's pretty funny. So moving on from there, our next stop was the 17 miles. We just noted that due to the 1727 on the map, nothing really ties in there. Let me lay this back a little bit here as we go through the trail again. From there, we hit on the Plum Orchard Shelter. So we like that one for the fruit basket. Good tie in there. That would take us right into kind of the border here of the 3 states. Got Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina. Talked a little bit on how to do your searches there to make sure you're checking all the states. Bird Falls Branch. This was the one where we found the hidden waterfall next to the big feather there on the map. Full checkout on Fontana Lake here. Nothing really going on there. We had the Fish Trap Branch, potentially could solve or tie into the smoke icon, and that would take us to Kauai here, which is the highest point. Swinging Bridge Quiet Walkway Trail. Find that interesting now because that was one of the few ones I've tied into the text, and it was interesting too because in John's interview, he didn't really seem too concerned about the text on the Appalachian Trail solve here. So definitely just, reinforcing that this is a very physical map that he's created here. I did mark out just kind of a ski area there for the skier. That would take us into the Cherokee National Forest area where we were able to tie in that lady, the old lady here painting on the boulder in front of her. That was a good tie in there. From there you have Asheville. Of course, that's where John grew up. Always important to note. Corner Rock was the tie-in for the rocks next to the bear. And then you have Mount Mitchell. So another high point there, highest peak again in North Carolina on that one. From there, we talked about the boot heels. It's where I kind of uncovered to y'all the map flip. critical part, of course, of lining up the trail and just knowing where to start and end. And then we finally finished the last episode right here on Big Bald. So, and that was with the Ballhead Trailhead. So that's where we'll pick up today. Start heading north from there and see what we can find. Oh, let me also hit on Winston-Salem while we're here. This was my best solve for the parchment paper. So the rolled up parchment paper, to me, looks like a cigarette. So kind of an old school cigarette, and that's where, Winston-Salem, North Carolina is essentially the birthplace of cigarettes here. So just tying in the state of North Carolina with that one, definitely level 1 solve, but since we didn't touch on it earlier, I just wanted to hit on that one real quick. Okay, so back to Big Ball. So heading north from here, we're basically, as you'll see here, we're kind of getting out of the Boot Heel area now. So heading north from there, if you look at the physical map, just after the Boot Heel, you're going to run into the long, narrow feather there. So that would become my next big point of interest, just really following the physical layout of the map here. So I'm at soccer practice, right? It's nighttime. I'm in the van. I got my huge, powerful magnifying glass going. I got the dome light on in the van, doing what all parents do at practice, right? We're treasure hunting. So I'm looking at this feather, trying to figure out what in the world it is. And all of a sudden, I realize, I guess it was the way the dome light hit the book, maybe casting some shadows there, but there's literally a bear sitting next to the pin. So absolutely blew my mind, couldn't believe it. Let's break it down here. If you look just to the right of this pin, or I'm calling it a pin now, because I always thought it was like a kind of a quail pin that you could write with. If you look just to the right of that, you'll notice that the bear, the little brown dot there, is basically the bear's nose. So that's the tip of his nose. You have kind of the snout around it. The ears are right above it. And then it's almost looks like he's sitting down on his butt, and he's got his paws kind of crossed in front of him. But that was there the entire time. I never even noticed that there was a bear there. So super excited. Goosebumps, hair on the back of your neck stands up. Man, we are right on the money here. So this was a big one for me. So let's take a look and see, after kind of all my, different solves or trying to figure out what in the world and how to put it all together. What does it mean? My best solve for this one, we're going to go Bearpin Ridge. So Bearpin, I believe it was one word, Ridge. Let's say, we'll just say North Carolina here, right here. So Bearpin Ridge. So just perfect location. I mean, right after the boot heels. I believe the first boot heel here was the one that matched up most to the actual physical map. So Bearpin coming right after the boot heel. Just crazy, super excited about that one. Great matchup there. Actually, we should probably save that one there. Let's just save that one to the map. It's kind of important. All right, so we got Bearpin coming off of that. Now I'm like crazy excited here. Got the adrenaline pumping. So of course, let's move on to the next icon. So next on the list, one we haven't solved for yet, was the bear right next to the rocks there. Of course, I came up with kind of a level 1 solve on the rocks earlier, but super hyper focused on these two at this point of soccer practice. So next step here, I think I was on the Appalachian Trail Conservatory map when I was going through this one. So flip over to this map here. Let me zoom out a little just to get your bearings. So you had the two boot heels here, and then you have the Bearpin Ridge kind of somewhere down in this area right here, near Roan Mountain. So coming off of that, I was like, we're really closing in on the end of the trail here with the bear and the rocks. So I'm getting in pretty tight on both the Google Earth and this map trail. Really looking for like any names of things and details that have to do with the bears or the rocks and things like that. I came up with a few different ones. But then as I was coming through here, I think it was about this point here, I hit this and I was like, holy cow. So bear stand really jumped out at me. So this whole conservation area here is called bear stand. And then you have a standing bear. On the surface, maybe not looks like, doesn't look like much, but coming off of that last solve and this just being right here, following the map in the actual book, it's just perfect location. You kind of have this like right hand turn here, which kind of matches the trail in the actual book here. I'll post a picture. So really love the way these are matching up here. So got super excited. I was really zoomed in. Let me jump back over here to Google Earth. So we're kind of in this area now is where Bear Stand is. So I'm following this here. So if you look closely at the arrow just to the left of the bear here, it kind of tells you like keep going straight. So the Appalachian Trail kind of hangs left here, but I was following kind of the arrow telling me to keep going straight here. So I came over to this lake here, which is Watauga Lake. So this is it, folks. We made it to our destination. Watauga Lake is where we were heading. So now this is where you're really going to get into some finer details here as I came through. So looking back at the physical book now, just to the left of your bear stand, you have the trail, and then you have basically some finer details here. So first you have the land mass, the kind of the shoreline here in the background, which I'm going to paint. I just added this new pen feature, so let's see how this works out for us. But basically what I'm looking at here, well, there's a crash example of it, but what I'm looking at here right now is this shoreline right here. So if y'all look closely in the book, this has a really close resemblance to the shoreline in the background of the trail here if you look closely. And I'll post a picture, of course. Also, next to the shoreline, when I first saw the book, this little spot here above the shoreline has always driven me crazy. I didn't know what it was, but now it totally makes sense as potentially the rooftops of these boats. So if you look in, let me take that one off there. I didn't mean to put that one on. If you look in real close here, you have the rooftops of the boats. So this, I believe, could be potentially representing those kind of lines there right off the shoreline. So it all matches up really nicely. So zooming out here, if let's assume that is the shoreline that we're looking at, and then we kind of draw our trail from there. So the physical trail in the book would come in like this, basically makes a right-hand turn. You have the arrow here telling you to kind of keep going this way, and it jumps over the lake. So you have some dashes here, and then voila, we're right back here on the Appalachian Trail. So really, really cool. This would become my main point of interest. If you look, let me turn on some details here. Let me get this out of here and then add some details. So at Watauga Lake here, you have just this absolutely gorgeous mountain range that runs all through here called Iron Mountain. So thought it was a really cool name. I was hoping part of the box would have been made of iron, but they were all the other steels but iron. But this mountain ridge that runs through here definitely become my main point of interest. I had also liked kind of this, the town over here next to it is called Dogtown. I thought that kind of tied in a little bit here. You got Dogtown here. That kind of tied in a little bit to the dog that the old lady was painting on the rock. So really just liking this whole location here. And for the next episode, this will be our next point of interest. Now I know what you're thinking. You're like, holy crap, Steve just solved the puzzle. Because I mean technically, right, if this triangle does land right in where we thought it did, so it jumps across here. Let me get my pin back out. Let's say it lands, on this little ridge here. And then in the book, the X wouldn't be too far beyond that, 1727. So obviously, these are big, expansive areas. I have a ton of ideas. Oh, we definitely going boots on the ground, and we'll get into all that on the next episode. So before y'all go out, searching these areas, I mean, if you live in town, feel free to swing by, but don't be booking any plane tickets just yet, because I cover a lot of ground here, and I'm gonna walk you through it. All right, so I'll see y'all next episode. A lot of fun. Thanks for watching another episode here with me as we closed in on our final destination today. It just occurred to me though that I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but in this series, I'm walking you through exactly how I experienced the book. So I think that's really important to note. To give you some perspective, this is my third day into the book at this point in the series. So it was a whirlwind of a ride. The map came very natural to me. Finding the map flip, all the icon solves, things like that came very quickly. So at this point in time in the series, I'm really hunting the X. So I wanted to clear that up in case there's any confusion, because at the beginning of the series, I told you we're going to find the tree in the magnifying glass, which we will, but this is the steps I had to take to get there to find it. So hopefully that clears up any confusion you may have. As always, leave comments. Let me know your thoughts, theories. Nobody ever leaves any comments, but it's still the same. I'm going to keep saying it until somebody starts responding to me. But yeah, check it out. Meet me back here for the next episode. I'll see you next time.